So there have been a lot of questions about Darvin Ham and his rotations with this new Lakers roster. And even Darvin Ham admits he needs to work out his rotation. Darvin Ham said, "My rotation, we got to really dig into that and really figure it out. Buckling down on our rotation, I'll start there. That's the main thing that is on my mind." Now, Darvin Ham, he said before going into the season, before even preseason, that he was going to use preseason and a bit of the regular season to kind of figure out that rotation. Throw out different lineups, throw out different looks, which he has done. And personally, I don't have an issue with that, right? Like, you have all this depth. You have all this talent. You have so many guys that you can make so many different arguments for. And how do you figure out what units work the best, what players play well together, what units mesh? What is your small ball lineup? What is your big lineup? What is this lineup? Does Rui work well alongside Christian Wood, or is he only best alongside LeBron and AD, right? Like, you got to kind of go through all the trials and errors. It also doesn't help that guys aren't hitting shots, right? Like, we have been atrocious shooting the basketball, and we have a lot of guys that are capable of knocking down and hitting shots. I mean, outside of Taurean Prince, no one else has really been consistent. And even he in the Suns game was inconsistent and just couldn't shoot very well, right? But you did have 2 of the 3 games in which he's well. And I'm not really worried about him because he's kind of the veteran. He's also the guy that has been proven his entire career as a guy that has the ability to knock down shots. But at some point, yes, we do need to figure out and kind of hash out, okay, what are the guys that are playing? I also think it hurts a bit that we don't have Jared Vanderbilt right now, right? Because Jared Vanderbilt, one, would make up for a lot of the defensive errors and would make up for a lot of just like the stability on the defensive side of the basketball. Also, Darvin Ham's probably not playing guys like Cam Reddish and stuff, like, because, and maybe even like Gabe Vincent, you're probably not playing him as much as we've seen him play, just because Jared Vanderbilt, he is that guy, but bigger, right? But when you don't have Jared Vanderbilt, you're trying to find somebody that can kind of at least give you something in regards to the defensive side of the basketball. That's why you see Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish has actually been very good on the defensive side. He's done and has had some really tough defensive assignments and has held his own for the most part. I mean, even in the Suns game, he was excellent defensively against Kevin Durant. Problem was, Kevin Durant was just being Kevin Durant, right? But when you have Jared Vanderbilt, you don't really have the need to rely on Cam Reddish. You can kind of just play him in, spot minutes here and there. You could start moving Max Christie into the rotation a little more. I know a lot of people are screaming to see Max Christie play some basketball here. I think a lot of that is just, you kind of want Cam Reddish for his size, his athleticism, his wingspan, his defense. Talk about a 6'8" guy, with a 7'1" wingspan that can match up with some of these perimeter guys on the opposing teams. But beyond that, again, we gotta, right now it's kind of, there's no stability in minutes for the guys that are having success, right? Like you saw with Rui and Christian Wood last night. Now, I know a lot of people were screaming like, oh, Darvin Ham should have played Christian Wood, Darvin Ham should have played Rui, right? Now, not playing Christian Wood at all in the second half, I think was just, I don't know what was up with that, but towards like the end of the third quarter and then into the fourth and overtime, I didn't really mind the unit that he went with because that was who got us back into the game. That was who, ended up forcing and helping us get into overtime. A lot of it was just us not shooting the basketball, going off into slow starts again. We got to stop these slow starts, right? Like these slow starts are just, we're behind the 8 ball every game and we're spending the entire game playing catch up. And you saw in overtime, we just ran out of gas and Sacramento did it. And we stopped locking in. We stopped chasing down loose balls. We stopped rebounding the basketball. Second chance points started killing us. Like it was not good from the Lakers standpoint. And we got to start winning road games, right? So far, we played 3 games. We played 1 home game. The only game we won is the home game. And it took LeBron heroics to win that game. Now, I don't mind the starting unit we have right now. Like, Austin Reeves has been pretty much unplayable. And another kind of knock on Darvin Ham for yesterday is the fact that Austin Reeves played so much, right? Like, I don't mind Darvin Ham sticking with him a little bit. I just feel like he stuck with Austin Reeves far too long. And I understand, Austin Reeves, you need to play him, right? Because I see a lot of people that are like, Austin, like, that's it, Austin Reeves. Like, no, he's too good, and you need to allow him to get through this, right? Like we saw in the Golden State series. Remember, it wasn't that long ago, Austin Reeves had that like 2 or 3 game stretch where he was as bad as he has been right now. I mean, he was literally unplayable. Darvin Ham stuck with him even when everybody felt otherwise, and he ended up turning it around. We end up winning that series. He's a huge part of that. And then we get into the Denver series, and even though we got swept, it wasn't because of Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves averaged like 21 points in that Denver series, right? So you got to allow him to kind of play through his frustrations and allow him to kind of play through just the struggles that he has right now. But at some point, yeah, it's that fine line of finding that ground. And I just think Darvin Ham relied on him a little too long. Now, some people were upset that Austin Reeves was subbed in for D'Lo towards the end of the game, but that was just defensive purposes, right? Because I mean, D'Lo has been fantastic defensively, right? So I don't really know how big of an argument that is, but I do understand it. Like, you get out D'Lo, you put in Reeves just for the defensive assignments, and he's a little smarter in just like getting through those screens and stuff. So I don't really knock him for that, but through the majority of the game, Austin Reeves just didn't have it. It's like, all right, come on, man. We're trying to win the game here. Pull him out and go with, insert Christian Wood, insert Rui Hachimura in those minutes, rather than trying to force Austin Reeves and getting him going, right? But outside of that, I mean, look, Taurean Prince in the starting lineup, I absolutely love. I think it's very likely that we're going to need to change the starting unit up. Now, I don't think you have to do it quite yet, right? Because what does it look like when Jared Vanderbilt comes back? Again, Taurean Prince, he's been great in that starting role. When Jared Vanderbilt comes back, right, do you move out Taurean Prince, right, and do Jared Vanderbilt and go with the original starting unit that got you to the conference finals? That's probably what you should at least attempt, and see how much more does Jared Vanderbilt help on the defensive side, right? Because, I mean, look, even last year, Lakers went from like middle of the pack defensively to the number 1 defense immediately when we got Jared Vanderbilt, because Jared Vanderbilt just covers so much ground. Not only can he defend the best player on the other team, regardless of who that is, right? He can also just cover a ridiculous amount of ground. It's basically the perimeter version of Anthony Davis, right? Anthony Davis is an incredible, defensive guy, but he also covers a lot of ground. He basically can defend the entire court. And same thing with Jared Vanderbilt. So now you have 2 guys in the unit that could do that. You're going to have a better job of like keeping teams from just going off. And then you can kind of, figure it out from there on the offense side. And then hopefully guys start hitting shots, right? We wouldn't, like, if guys started to knock down shots like they should be, a lot of these question marks and a lot of these frustrations wouldn't be a thing. But it's hard to win games when you can't make buckets, right? Because a big part of basketball is putting the ball in the hoop, right? Being able to score the basketball. Like, even D'Lo has had his struggles and his inconsistencies. Rui and Christian Wood have had their struggles and inconsistencies. They were great last game. Darvin Ham's got to find and start integrate. Okay, like Rui's got it going. Let's call his number a little bit, right? I understand you want to share the basketball. You want to get everybody going, but I think you need to find spots where it's like, okay, we got to feed the hot hand here a little bit. Christian Wood, he's got it going. Let's dump it down to him and let him go to work a little bit. Let's ride the hot hand. And if it cools off, then you adjust, right? Like, for example, Taurean Prince yesterday, lights out early on, really started to struggle hitting shots down the stretch, right? Okay, well, move away from him. Right? Go, like, you can still keep him on the court because he's great defensively and we need him for the defensive side of the basketball. And he's still a threat that stretches the floor and teams got to contest, and he still has the ability to knock down that shot, right? But instead of trying to force feed that, you get into sets, you run different things, you run different looks, right? But Darvin Ham does need to kind of hash things out. Now, personally, and this is just me personally, I would move Austin Reaves out of the starting unit, like, regardless. The one concern, though, is he's struggling really mightily right now. And do you want to run the risk of Austin Reaves kind of losing a bit of his confidence, right? You move him to the bench unit, kind of feels like it's a demotion. I'm really struggling, and instead of sticking with me, now you're basically downgrading me. But I think that would be best. Even if Austin Reaves was killing it right now, I still think you move him to the bench just to bring some stability to that bench unit. And him and Rui have, that chemistry from last season. And so now you have, Gabe Vincent, Austin Reaves, and Christian Wood, Jackson Hayes, Rui Hachimura. Like, that's kind of like your 5-man unit coming off the bench, right? Something like that. And you can make that argument that, like, that would be a better balance for the Lakers. And then you just kind of bring somebody bigger, right? Maybe you stick with Taurean Prince. Maybe you go with Christian Wood. I mean, you could go with Rui Hachimura, sure. But I think I would rather either go bigger, like slightly bigger with Christian Wood, and let him and Anthony Davis play alongside each other, and they've been really good playing alongside each other, or go with like a Taurean Prince, something like that for like more perimeter defense. But I think if you move Austin Reaves to the bench, you kind of put him in that Manu Ginobili role, which that's even how you can phrase it. And I mean, he could still play his minutes. And if he's got it going, close with them, right? Like, you could close with him over, say, like a D'Lo or something like that, right? I think that would be the best approach, and kind of phrase it as like, dude, look, one, like, I still believe in you, man. I've kept you in longer than I should have, right? But we got to start getting different looks here, and you are so good in that gap role as a player. Like, we need you there. And that way you can kind of bridge this better for us and, maybe go make a campaign for 6th man of the year, something like that. I just think that is the approach that they need to have. And I mean, Austin Reaves, he emerged coming off the bench. Team USA, he played off the bench, and he was Team USA's most efficient player, right? Like, so there's a real argument, even in just the numbers, that say Austin Reaves should come off the bench. Right? So that's kind of the approach that I'd go. And then, again, like, you can move Christian Wood into that starting lineup if you wanted to, and go, like, a bigger, like, Wood, LeBron, AD. And the beauty of Wood is he has shown the ability to defend out on the perimeter. So you could still kind of keep LeBron in that 4 spot on the defensive side of the basketball, and allow Christian Wood to kind of defend out on the perimeter and maybe get a look at that and have some real length and kind of go something along those lines, right? And then, so have a starting lineup of, say like Austin Reaves, D'Angelo Russell, Jared Vanderbilt, LeBron James, Christian Wood, and Anthony Davis. Because Jared Vanderbilt's going to defend the best player on the other team regardless on every night. Unless it's like Jokic or Embiid or something like that. So, but outside of those two, Jared Vanderbilt's defending the best player on the other team every night. Then, you could throw D'Lo on, whoever the other quicker kind of defender is. And then Christian Wood can defend out on the perimeter. You have Anthony Davis doing Anthony Davis things. And then you have LeBron James that can kind of, play scout in that free safety role and allow him to play. But personally, I really like the idea of when Vando comes back, you insert Jared Vanderbilt, and then you swap Taurean Prince with Austin Reaves. Because one, Taurean Prince has shown that he's really good in the starting unit. I think, secondly, you have him and his ability to knock down shots, which kind of makes up for moving Austin Reeves to the bench because, usually when Austin Reeves isn't struggling this mightily, Austin Reeves can knock down the three ball and knock it down at a 40+% clip, right? Well, Taurean Prince is shooting that this season. So you get a Taurean Prince that can give you 40% from three. He's got good size. He's one of your better defenders. So now you're bigger out on the perimeter. You're also more versatile and more switchable defensively. Like I said, D'Angelo Russell has been very good on the defensive side of the basketball. For those that are wondering, why D'Lo over an Austin Reeves, I just think D'Lo is the better playmaker, right? And so all the pressure isn't on LeBron James, where Austin Reeves, yes, he can make plays, and, he can fill in at the point guard position enough to where, he could play point guard. I'm not, worried about him playing point guard. But D'Lo's played really good off the ball. He's really good on the ball. That pick and roll action that he has, with him and Anthony Davis, him and, Jackson Hayes. He can run that with Jared Vanderbilt. He's just more confident in that role, I'd say. And, I just think you go with D'Lo, and his defense he's shown enough on the defensive side to where I think you can trust him in that guard. So you go with D'Lo, Prince, Vando, LeBron, and AD. I think that would give you the best balance. You still have the shooting. You have much better defense. I think that this would be a better balanced lineup to get to better starts rather than seeing the starts and the struggles that we have right now. Right? Again, you can make an argument for several guys. You can make an argument for Rui Hachimura. You can make an argument for Christian Wood, as I said. But I just think you have Anthony Davis down low to basically defend anything at the rim. LeBron's playing that free safety role. You have D'Lo, Prince, and Vando just defending out on the perimeter. I just think that would be the best approach. I think that just gives you the best overall balance. And with Prince and his ability to shoot and knock down the three, you don't lose anything on the offensive side, right? And he's shown the ability also to put the ball on the deck, not settle, and actually get to the rim, which I like as well, right? So you have that constant three-point looming threat. You have D'Lo who can operate and just go off on his own, knock down some shots. Vando for the defensive purposes. Hopefully he also has improved as a three-point shooter. If he can be solid from three-point range, I'm not even talking about 40%. Can he just be, 35, 36%? That would be great. Now he becomes a threat to knock down shots out on the perimeter. Got LeBron James, you got Anthony Davis. That's the approach that I look at. That's how I would personally go after it. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass a question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you think, that's the unit to go with? Would you go with, a Christian Wood? Would you go with the Rui Hachimura? What do you think of Darvin Ham's rotations? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments.